everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Can Keithie Take the Heat? This is our podcast dedicated to cooking all the recipes in JR's cookbook, Can You Take the Heat, with the WWE superstars. It is a very warm July day, or June day, I should say. I don't know why I said July. This will be June. It's the end of June, and it's about 90 degrees out. So I'm going to do a crock pot recipe or a slow cooker recipe because why not? I don't really want to be cooking in my kitchen today. So today what I'm going to be doing is it's JR's Tex-Mex stew, and it's a pretty basic recipe. I'll go over the recipe a little later on. It's going to be done in it's going to be done really in 2 parts, 3 parts really, because I'm going to add something at the end to kind of go with this. But the first part of the recipe you have to put into a crock pot and let it cook for 5 hours. And then what I'll do is I'll come back, I'll do the other part, which you add in some beans, let them cook for an hour. And then the third part is going to be, I'm going to make kind of like a lime rice, just white rice, little basmati rice with some lime juice in it and maybe a little chicken broth so that we can kind of pour that over it at the end. So, or add it to the broth or the stew at the end. So the first thing we want to do is, I'm going to show you right now, we're going to add these following ingredients. It says for any kind of salsa, so I went with the Market Basket mild salsa. It says use JR barbecue sauce. I do not have any barbecue sauce or JR barbecue sauce, so I'm using one of my favorites, which is Sweet Baby Ray's award-winning barbecue sauce. You want to add, it's a taco seasoning mix. It says add half a package of this, so I'll do half a package. I don't want to mess this up too much, just because. But you're going to do a cup of the salsa, a cup of the barbecue sauce, a cup of frozen corn. So I'm using sweet corn. And I usually don't cook with corn because I'm diabetic, and corn's not really good for diabetic. Corn's not really good for anybody, but I want to just kind of stick to the recipe as best as I can. And of course I have 1.5 pounds of some stew beef. So this is really simple, at least this part of it is. I'm just going to toss in the beef into the crock pot. And I am going to do a little salt and pepper. I know there's going to be salt and pepper in the chili seasoning or the taco seasoning, but still I like the salt and pepper the beef anyway. So I'm going to do that. Excuse me while I just rinse my hands here. Okay. And then I'm going to do a little salt and pepper, like I said, just because. Just want to salt your beef. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll do the half a packet of the taco seasoning. It's about half. And then, now here's the good part. Because it's a cup, you really only need, kind of do it in the best way to eliminate as much cleanup as necessary. So I'll do the cup of the corn first. And then I'm going to do, since the barbecue sauce will probably stick, we'll do the barbecue sauce next. Get all that goodness. This is good. Sweet Baby Ray's is good. I believe it's nationwide. I don't think it's just like a local New England thing, but if it is local on New England, I'd recommend seeing if you can order some online. And then I'm going to do the cup of the salsa. Now, one thing I did notice when I was kind of going through looking at different salsas is that you could probably even get like a corn and bean, because 2 of the things, like I said, I added the corn, but another thing we're going to add is we're going to add black beans and chickpeas. So you got black beans and then a half a can of chickpeas. So actually, if you wanted to probably get the corn and the black bean salsa, it probably would actually help add to this. So, all right, and then it's just put it on high for 5 hours. So we'll see you in 5.
Move over, bacon. There's something leaner. Tasty sizzling.
Whoa, sis, what's the matter with my bacon?
Here's what's the matter. F-A-T, fat. Sizzline's 50% leaner than bacon. It's all real meat without all the fat. Mmm, delicious.
Move over, bacon. There's something leaner.
Sizzling breakfast strips from Swift.
So why sizzle fat? Sizzle lean. We're Beatrice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of this recipe here from JR's Cookbook, Can Keithie Take the Heat? So it's been about 5 hours, and here, I'll bring my camera over so you can see what we are looking at in the crock pot. So, oh, yeah, look at that. We got this thing is bubbling and churning and all that good stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in my chickpeas and my black beans. So, like I said, it's a can of black beans. And it's half a can of chickpeas. So first thing I'm going to do is grab a spoon, a wooden spoon. So I got my wooden spoon here because I want to stir this around a little bit as well. Ah! That shit's hot. Careful. All right, so this looks good. Oh, this looks great. Yeah, separate that a little bit. Okay. Yeah, my black beans in. So those are all in. And then I'm going to do half of the chickpeas. Now, the one thing I didn't add is it does ask for some cilantro. And I'm pretty sure that my brother and my nephew, who will also be eating this, have that thing where cilantro tastes like soap. And that's a legit thing. I'm not lying. But, so I'm not adding cilantro to this. It does call for that. So if you don't mind cilantro, oh shit, and I don't, but if you don't mind cilantro, add that in. But I don't care. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. So that's going to sit for about another hour, and then it's going to be ready to go. And then the last thing that I'll do for this is, like I said, I'll just make some basmati rice. And I actually do have, I got a new bag. I think I have an open bag, but if not, I bought a new bag of Carolina basmati rice. And I'm going to throw a little bit of chicken broth in the water. And a good thing to do, too, is to rinse your rice off first. That's kind of a good thing. It gets rid of the extra starch, and it kind of makes it more fluffy when you cook it in the water. I'm going to add a little bit of chicken broth to the water to soak into the rice. And then I'm actually going to squeeze in a lime because I said I was going to do like a little lime. So I bought I bought a lime, a small lime, and I'm just going to squeeze the lime juice into that as well. I'll do that at the beginning. I'll put the water in with the chicken broth and the lime, and then I'll kind of just mix that in and let the rice cook. So that's going to be the last thing I do. I'll see you in about an hour when this is all ready to go, and I'll plate it up, and we should be good to go. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. This is the finished product here. It's a nice, looks like a nice stew, nice scoop with some rice. And I'll give you the recipe in a bit. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Right now, what I'm going to do while we're cooking the JR's Tex-Mex stew is I'll kind of go over the ingredients as well as JR's little blurb that he has in here for this. So, again, this is JR's Tex-Mex stew. For this, you're going to want 1.5 pounds of lean beef chunks for stewing. Like I said, I think I got, I did a little bit over, I did almost like a little under 2 pounds, but that's because I was feeding it for 3 people. I mean, this does say it makes 4 servings, so I probably could have done 1.5 pounds of lean beef chunks, so either or. 1 cup of JR's barbecue sauce, so your favorite, and like I said, we didn't have JR's barbecue sauce. I don't even know if you can still get JR's barbecue sauce, honestly. But I went with the Sweet Baby Ray's award-winning sauce, so I like that. 1 cup of bottled salsa, which I did have the mild salsa. And as I said, I think you could probably even do one step further and get like a corn and black bean. I know that Newman's Own has that. That was one of the ones that I saw was Newman's Own. So you could probably get that if you wanted to do corn and black bean. Half of a package. So you get the 1 ounce package of the reduced sodium taco seasoning mix. And I didn't get the reduced sodium. I just got the regular taco season mix, but I did use a half. I didn't do more than that. It said adjust for taste. So I guess if you want a little more, a little less, you could do either or. 1/2 of a can of a 7 ounce can of chickpeas. I did do 1/2 a can for that. 1 cup of frozen corn, which I did use, and I did get the sweet corn, so I did that instead. And then 1 15 ounce can of black beans, and then 3/4 a cup of freshly chopped cilantro. And like I said, I didn't do the cilantro because I believe my brother and my nephew both have that thing that makes it taste like soap, and I didn't want to do that. I was toying with the idea of maybe throwing in like some parsley. That might be an alternative if you want to try it. I didn't try it though this time. So, and it says mix all the ingredients except the beans and cilantro in a 3-quart slow cooker. Cover and cook on high for about 5 hours until the beef is very tender. It was very tender. It also, I would maybe, you don't even have to probably do 5 hours. You could probably do 4, because then what you do is you stir in the beans and the cilantro and cook for an additional hour. So this is saying 6 hours. I didn't do 6 hours. I think I ended up doing it was probably about 5 plus. So you could even, I mean, depending on how you like your beef, because if you want your beef, and that was tender, but it was also kind of medium, little medium well, I feel like. So with stew, you don't really kind of cook it medium rare or whatever. But I mean, you could probably cut that back a little bit to maybe even 3 hours, and then do the beans and then do an additional hour. But I would say anywhere between 4 and 6 hours, depending on how you like your beef, would be fine. And it says serve with rice or tortillas. So what I had done is I made some white rice, and I had added some lime juice and a little bit of chicken stock to the water that I had made the rice with. I'll be honest, the rice did kind of come out a little bit mushy. So I think what I would do in the future is probably cook the rice regular, and then at the very end when you're fluffing it, like with the fork at the end, I would maybe throw in like half a lime. And then that would kind of give it that lime flavor that I was looking for. It still came out fine once, you mix it and everything, but I would probably do that. So this is, JR's writes here, this stew is great on a cold night, and it's even better the next day. Always the mark of a good dish. I prefer to eliminate the corn and chickpeas, which are not on my top 10 vegetable lists. Of course, the quality of the meat makes a big difference. Remember, the leaner, the better. This stew is also good if you're taking a long car trip with your buddies, because the black beans can become good conversation piece. I don't know what that means, but he's not wrong with the corn. Like I said, I think I had said earlier, I'm a diabetic and corn's not really the best thing for me. So I tend to not eat it. I did cook it with the corn. You could probably, see, it's tough because you can't really mix and match too many different vegetables for Tex-Mex. Like you can't replace the corns with peas or even carrots or anything like that. So you might want to stick with the corn. Chickpeas, you could probably replace chickpeas with maybe just some regular kidney beans, or even if you wanted to go with, no, I would probably do kidney beans. Either maybe dark red kidney beans would be good. Instead of the chickpeas. But I like the chickpeas, actually. I thought they were pretty good. So I like this overall. I thought this was a pretty good recipe to pick. So, yeah, I would definitely try that. And it was delicious. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know I just said I was going to put this in while we were cooking it, but I'll put it in right afterwards. And yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So check it out. Try it. You might be surprised.
Oh, hello. Welcome to Sandwiches of History. Today, from the Richmond Item, a newspaper in 1925, we're going to be making an egg sandwich. And no, it's not what you think. All right, to a beaten egg, we add milk, flour, salt, pepper. Get this all mixed together. And we fry that up in some butter. Then we put that onto buttered bread. Okay, let's give this egg sandwich a go. Nothing wrong here. Tastes good. I suspect this recipe was intended to make you feel fuller and therefore use less eggs. It's not bad. It tastes like an egg sandwich. I do want to plus it up a little. I'm going to add a nice aioli. Get a little garlicky mayonnaise going on. Okay, let's give this egg sandwich plussed up with aioli a go. Garlicky mayonnaise and eggs. So good. I think the original egg sandwich, that probably warrants like 6.5. That is actually a good, tasty thing, and it stretches your dollar. Plussed up with the aioli, that's like a 7.5 to me. I just love that combination of egg, garlic, mayonnaise. It's so good. All right, I'm gonna finish that, and I don't know that I would make this again, but I'll definitely have eggs with aioli. All right, see you tomorrow. In fact, I'm gonna have some right now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Can Keithie Take the Heat. This is kind of an added-on little episode for our episode that we made for JR's Tex-Mex stew. And really it's because I want to make a dessert for everybody to have, especially with the summertime coming. This might be a good dessert to make for either a hot day or just a holiday or anything like that. So we're going to be making X-Pac's banana cream pie. So the ingredients for this are real simple. You want to get a box each of Jell-O. You want to get cook and serve, not the instant. So you want to get Jell-O, vanilla, and banana cream pudding. I guess you could get Jell-O. You can get any one you really want, but the Jell-O was the one that I had. You also want to get a chocolate graham pie crust pre-made. And you also want to have some bananas. You're going to be using a banana, one banana really. You can do two if you want, but one is the case. And then milk. And that's basically it. So the recipe goes, you want to add the components of the Jell-O. So it's going to be the 1 packet of the vanilla and the 1 packet of the banana cream. And I don't really have to show much more than that. And then what you want to do is add 3.5 cups of milk. So it says use 2% if you want less cream or less fat. I'm assuming whole milk if you want to use whole milk. I have 1%. So I actually might do, but I also have some heavy whipping cream, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So I think what I might do is I think I'm going to put 3 cups of the 1% milk, and then I'm going to do 1/2 cup of the heavy whipping cream. And the reason I'm doing heavy whipping cream is because later on I'm going to make my own whipped cream for the dessert topping for this. And making whipped cream is easy to do. You basically take heavy whipping cream, you can add a little bit of sugar, and you just put it in like a mixer. Do it in a mixer. You can do it by hand if you want to like exercise a little bit, because it kind of does take a lot. But let's put the 1/2. Awesome. And then I'll give it a little bit of fat, kind of help, congeal this up. And now it says to just do it over medium-low heat. So I'm going to put this on medium-low. And I have my trusty whisk. And I'm just going to whisk this together now. Let it all get incorporated. And then as this heats up, you want to whisk it. And you really kind of only bring this to a light boil. And then once it comes to a light boil, you're going to let this cool for 10 minutes. Basically let it cool to room temperature. And then you are going to slice up a banana. And you're going to slice the banana, put it in the bottom of the chocolate graham cracker crust. Okay, that's good. And then you cover the rest of the pie crust with the mixture, and then you put it in the fridge. You let it refrigerate for about 4 to 5 hours. And then, like I said, you can do homemade whipped cream, which is easy. And all you have to do for that is you just need to put the heavy whipping cream. I have like a KitchenAid stand mixer. It's good to throw the bowl and the whisk in the freezer. Let them kind of chill for about, you could leave them in there as long as you want, but really like half an hour maybe. And then it makes the whipped cream like that. Like you throw the heavy whipping cream, you throw in the sugar, a little bit of sugar, maybe a little bit of vanilla if you want. And you turn that on high and you let it whip it up. You got to be careful because if you whip too long, it starts making butter, but you'll notice it when it creates what they call stiff peaks. And I could probably show you that later on in like a second part or a third part of this. So yeah, we'll do that. So I'm going to let this cook. I'm going to let it cool down, and then I'll come back when I'm putting the banana pieces, the banana slices, and the rest of this mixture, the Jell-O mixture, over the crust, and we'll be back.
Now coming to pitch, the world's tallest pitcher, Dakota Stilts Albritton, and being escorted by country rock star Brantley Gilbert.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are ready to put our bananas into the crust. As you see, I have some sliced banana, and I have my crust ready to go. So I'm going to lower this down. Sorry if you're looking at my belly, but I'm just going to put the bananas, just, layer them out down on the bottom here. And there's no real recipe. And that goes out to my good friend Tim Capel. But yeah, you can kind of just see I'm just kind of plopping them in. Give a little bit of texture for the various sizes, things like that. And I have already put my bowl for my stand mixer in the freezer. My bowl and my whisk. So, all right, so that's all set. Let me wash my hands here. As you guys know, I'm a bit of a neat freak. I don't even want to say germaphobe, because I feel like that's just not totally accurate. But, okay, so the pudding is kind of set. As you can see, it's a little jiggly, so this should kind of just pour right over. And I do have a little spatula to get the remnants out. So this actually, it's I have a little too much. So the good news is I'm going to be able to put some of this pudding in some cups and have a little pudding later. So as you can see, it's kind of right towards the top of the pie crust. It's a little jiggly. And you can actually keep the pie crust cover. I would take the little paper thing off and then take the little sticky residue and you can actually place this back on and then crimp this up. I'm sure most of you have done this once or twice, and that'll keep it at least from anything getting in it. And then I'm going to throw this in the fridge. All right, so that's that. And now, in about 4 or 5 hours, we'll go ahead and take that out, make the whipped cream. And as I told you guys, there is my bowl freezing. So we'll see you when that's all set. Hi, everybody, and welcome back once again. I'm going to show you how to make homemade whipped cream. So what you're going to need is your heavy whipping cream, a little bit of vanilla extract, and to kind of help stabilize it, you can either use sugar, but they say to use powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar. So the other thing that works is a KitchenAid, and what you want to do is put your bowl and whisk in your freezer for a couple hours, and that'll help it work real well. So I got my bowl and my shit's chilly. My bowl and whisk in the freezer. Put this on. You want to lock that in, and we are going to pour our heavy cream. And now I'm going to do a teaspoon. I'll do a teaspoon of the confectioner's sugar. Good teaspoon. And then really, like, barely a couple of drops of the vanilla extract. Just very little. You don't need a lot. All right. And then you turn it on. And you want to kind of just turn it on to mix it. And then you want to get it going. And it shouldn't take very long. What we're looking to do is develop some what's known as stiff peaks. So you can see right here, so you can see that it's not really stiff yet. Almost there. And then a little bit more sugar. A little bit more. And that looks pretty good to me. Yeah, looks pretty good. Pretty stabilized. Tastes good. 3 ingredients, that's it. And now, if you want to be really fancy, you can put this into a piping bag and then pipe it onto the Boston cream pie and like a little lattice design or whatever you want to do. But I am going to just show you the finished product of the pie. And then when we're ready, I will take a picture of a slice of it, so you can all see how it came out. Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. See? It's a nice pie right there. So, all right. So that's going to do it for this. So I'll take a picture of it and you'll see it in its finished product. All right. Thanks. Okay, everybody. Here's the banana cream pie with the whipped cream. So I'm going to give a slice, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I wanted to kind of go over the recipe here for X-Pac's banana cream pie, so that way we can have that as well. So you want to have, it's 1 3-ounce package of vanilla pie and pudding mix, not instant. 1 3-ounce package of banana cream pudding mix, not instant. So those are the ones that you got to cook and then let set. You know what? I mean, I'm sure you could do instant. I don't see why not, but it didn't matter anyway, because you got to let this kind of chill and cool anyway. So I just went with the regular prepare and then let set. So that's fine. But you want to get 2 3-ounce packages of both. 3.5 cups of milk. Use 2% for less fat. 1 large ripe banana. 1 pre-made chocolate graham cracker crust. Light Cool Whip or light whip topping to taste. And in a medium saucepan, combine both the vanilla and the banana cream pie mixes with the milk. Bring the mixture to a light boil over medium-low heat and then cool for 10 minutes. Cut the banana into 1/4 inch slices and place them on the bottom of the chocolate pie crust. Add the pudding mixture. Refrigerate for 4 to 5 hours. Top with Cool Whip and serve. Now, things that I did a little differently is, I think I said I had 1% milk, and I did 3 cups of 1% milk, and then I had 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. And I had purchased the heavy whipping cream because I made my own Cool Whip, on my own whip topping. So, and for the whip topping, all you do is, like I said, you put the bowl of if you have a kitchen-made stand mixer, you put the bowl and the whisk in the freezer for a few hours, let them kind of chill. And then really, once you put that heavy whipping cream in, you're going to start to see kind of it start to set pretty fast. So you put that in, you whip on high. One of the things that I did is instead of using just regular sugar, I used confectioner sugar or powdered sugar. That helps give it a little stabilization as well. And then I did drop a little bit, not even a teaspoon, it was barely like just a little blip of vanilla extract to kind of add it a little flavor. And then you just let that sucker whip until you see stiff peaks. And the way you kind of do stiff peaks is it's easy. You lift up, as soon as you lift up the KitchenAid, you're going to see this. It's going to like kind of make a stiff peak, and that's when you know you're done. Just be careful with the heavy whipping cream, as I said earlier, because if you keep spinning that thing, it's going to create butter. So you want to make sure that you stop when it hits stiff peaks instead of going all the way. Now, JR's little message in here says, I've heard that X-Pac's mom used to make this one I've heard that X-Pac's mom used to make this one when he was a youngster to try to fatten him up. It's his favorite, and he's one of mine. I could even vouch for this recipe because I've made it myself, so I know anyone can do it. We never had air conditioning at our house in the Sooner State, so on hot summer days, Mom was always looking for good things to fix for dinner that wouldn't warm up the kitchen. Not much heat used in this recipe, and having taken the oath, I can attest that this is a great pie. Okay, taking the oath, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. If he says, I don't know what oath JR is talking about. But yeah, so that is X-Pac's banana cream pie that we're having for dessert. So those are the 2 recipes there. Like I said, I didn't really change much from either recipe except for the lack of the cilantro. And then I used, instead of 2% milk, I used 1% and then a little bit of cream. So yeah, and I made my own whipped cream, which instead of Cool Whip, because you should never get Cool Whip. It's, you know what? It's almost the same price. It's probably cheaper to make your own whip topping. And believe it or not, it does taste better. And it's healthier, I guess to say healthier for you. But that's because Cool Whip tends to put, if you ever look at the ingredients on Cool Whip, it's got a lot of stabilizers. And I think they even make it with like oil, which you don't need oil. It's literally, they say it's 3 ingredients. And that's because you're adding sugar and you're adding vanilla. If you don't add vanilla and you don't add sugar, it's 1. And you can make just straight whipped cream with just heavy whipping cream. It just doesn't taste as good as Cool Whip does, or some other kind of like, whip topping. And that's because they add sugar and they add flavorings. But if you add a little bit of sugar, and I mean a little bit, like not even a tablespoon, like a teaspoon. So you do a teaspoon of confectioner's sugar, like a couple of drops of vanilla extract, and then you put in the cup or so of, I just did the whole pint and you put it in. It's fantastic. And it's just as good. It's better than it's one of the few things that you can make that is like an easy buy that you can make that is great. Like a lot of people say, like they've tried to make their own homemade ketchup and it sucks. And I agree with that. It's like to make this Cool Whip, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. And it's a lot of fun. And if you have the KitchenAid, it's one of the few things that people with KitchenAids that get them, that never use them, can actually use them. So that's what I would do. But that's going to be it for this episode of Can Keithie Take the Heat? I think so. I think it was a successful meal altogether, successful dessert, successful dinner. And we hope you enjoy it. Enjoy everything you see here on the Backbone Wrestling Network, Backbone Food Network, Backbone Movie Network. It's just the Backbone Wrestling Network. And then everything else that we do on the North-South Connection Podcast Network. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.